Hello everybody, I want to start off by thanking you all for joining me today. Recently I've started to listen to some true crime podcasts on my way to school, in between classes and so forth. And first I was just listening to it because I really didn't have anything better to do, or anything better to listen to. But slowly I started getting hooked on these stories. They would be named something like The Prisoner of Korea, or The Poisoner of Korea, which might sound like a ridiculous title, but it worked. As I slowly got deeper and deeper into the genre, I started to question, how ethical is this? Is it right for me to take enjoyment from other people's tragic experiences and stories? And how is this affecting the world around me? Furthermore, are there any benefits at all from true crime? So in this presentation, I want to tackle each and every one of these questions. Okay. Because I found out that I'm not the only person wondering about this. So throughout this entire presentation, I'll be covering the appeal of true crime, the dark side, its potential educational value, how it can raise awareness, and the overall role and responsibility of the media. In the end, I hope not only to shed light on the true crime community and media, but to influence your perspective on the overall genre. I think the best way to start is by defining what true crime is. True crime, stated by Dulcie B., is a non-fiction genre of popular media that concerns real-life crimes, that focuses on the work of true crimes. That may be single cases, or often it's like murder, it's a disappearance, or an assault, or other kind of violent crimes, either as a collective act or a single criminal. And I want to clarify this during this presentation, that I'll only be discussing the effects of solved crimes, not unsolved crimes, okay? Which often include a lot of personal conspiracies and suspicions, and a lot of no evidence, a lack of evidence. Instead, I'm focusing on solved mysteries, where criminals have been tried and the court documents are openly available to the public. A poll done by Taylor Orth, a director of survey data and journalism, found out that about half of Americans enjoy true crime, and 1/3 of Americans, yes, 1/3, consume true crime on a weekly basis. And this figure can give us an understanding on how big the genre is of true crime and how impactful it is. One thing that makes true crime so fascinating is that true crime dates back all the way to the 17th century, when John Reinhold's The Trumpet of God's Revenge Against the Crying and Execrable Sins of Martha was released. And this book, it covered a bunch of several crimes, criminals, discoveries, and tragic histories. And as time went on, true crime only surged in popularity, especially during COVID, to keep in mind. Books like The Killer Flower of Moon, Say Nothing, and series like Dahmer, you probably know, and podcasts like You Didn't See Nothing, or my favorite, Rotten Mango, or some examples of sensational true crime media that peaked during COVID, peaked after COVID. And with more and more people tuning in to watch these shows, you might be asking yourself, how did true crime become so sensational? Experts say that it's for a multitude of reasons. Cornell School of Law and Journalism say people are drawn to true crimes because these stories are sensational. And curiosity is a big motivation for these crimes. Concerns about the justice and legal system, and the thrill of solving real-life whodunit. And an expert from Des Moines Daily Capital stated that people listen to it because it baffles them on their faces constantly. The question is, could she have really done it? Why would she have done it? And what would drove her to do such horrific actions, right? Curiosity is an emotion that just appeals to us and leads us to be fascinated with mysteries. Another aspect of true crime is that true crime requires us to use our problem-solving skills, which makes us more personally connected to these experiences and crimes. And it also appeals to our brain in some way. But you might be asking, is true crime ethical, and how should the topic be approached? Oftentimes when people criticize true crime, they mention that people glorify and romanticize violence, while it also desensitizes the viewers and normalizes dangerous behaviors and actions. Some even say that true crime fans are borderline obsessed with the genre, okay? And a quote from Brandon Glob, a UCL professor of criminology, said, "What draws folks into true crime is a huge attraction in this genre is to counter boredom. It removes people from boredom of their day-to-day life." And he also stated, "If it bleeds, it leaks," which is a phrase used to state how violent crimes are often prioritized and sensationalized by the media. Another downside of true crime is that it can increase anxiety and paranoia, making people feel more unsafe and uneasy about their situation. And while all these points are true, we have to examine this topic of ethics with true crime on a case-to-case basis. While some people, while some people may experience negative mental health impacts from true crime, others establish a community, which I will talk about later. And another aspect of glorification, I believe that when people cover true crime stories, they should make it clear that these stories are not in any way fictional. And it should be handled in a delicate and respectful manner. Okay. Furthermore, a study has shown that true crime can actually be a source of knowledge and education. True crime can educate the general population about the criminal justice system, about the U.S. law enforcement, and in some cases, true crime podcasts or media can even jumpstart cases or reopen old cases due to public outcry or interest. Along this, a survey done by YouGov discovered that 62% of people believe that true crime content makes them more safety concerned, and about 63% of people, a little less than that, believe that they have a better understanding of the criminal justice system because of true crime. Along with its widespread educational value, true crime raises awareness for a multitude of different causes, victims, and their families. A research study done by the University of Nebraska found out that 73% of true crime listeners are women that have previously experienced violence in one way or another, and true crime creates a community for these women. Furthermore, true crime also brings closure to a lot of families by forcing law enforcement to actually acknowledge their stories and cases. Furthermore, it encourages people to donate to different organizations that support victims and their families. A quote by Kelly B states that they are pouring themselves in the same situation, but this time they have a complete control. And it becomes like a healing factor to them instead of being traumatizing, which allows the victims to grow and develop. But no matter how many pros of true crime content they are or exist, if media outlets cannot respectfully talk about these victims and respect them and their wishes, the ethics of true crime will always be questioned. Oftentimes, big media outlets only care about the money. As Charles Tuggs stated, we want ratings because no ratings means no show, and no show means no paychecks. Big media outlets are out to make money. They're out to make that buck, okay? So oftentimes true stories would be changed to be more appealing to a general audience, distorting real-life victim stories, which can end up re-traumatizing them. And to avoid a situation just like these, we have to respect victims' family and include them while talking about their stories. And we should also avoid conspiracies and misinformation. With these two easy reminders of true crime, and the true crime community can be a safer, respectable, and more enjoyable place for everyone. I want to end our journey today by leaving you all with a quote from Whitney Phillips, as she states, "True crime isn't the problem. It's how people approach it and whose stories are being told and whose stories are not." So thank you today for joining me.
I'm glad you went to be kind.